Hello and welcome to the Collapse Experiment. I know I've been a bit of a Debbie Downer lately, but I mean, if you're on a roll, why not keep going, right? It's been years since I've been to therapy. Perhaps this is a new form of therapy. I don't know. First girlfriend. The first girlfriend I ever had, her name was Jessica, and I was I think 12, she was 13, and she lived a couple blocks over from me in the same neighborhood, and she had a single mom, a little brother, and my mom ran a daycare center out of our apartment, of all things. And I met her when her and her brother were dropped off at the apartment, and I believe it was they were waiting for the bus in the morning, and then after school they were dropped off at our house because her mom wasn't home from work yet. And they would basically hang out at our house until they got picked up. So the three of us got along, and we would hang out, and it was kid stuff, right? Like, really wasn't into that whole teenager thing yet. It was that tween era of like your body's changing and everything's still childish and goofy, and so there came a time where their mom's job changed, and they stopped coming over because they no longer needed daycare. And during the summer, they would ride their bikes over, and they would come knocking on the door asking if I could hang out with them, go and do the whole 80s thing of like riding through the neighborhood and getting into trouble, and which I was not allowed to do at all. There was a couple of times where I'm like, hey, why don't we just hang out here? And so they would reluctantly say yes, and then once I was out the door, I was like, I'm gonna grab my bike and let's get the fuck out of here. I wasn't talking like that as a 12-year-old, but that was the mentality of, screw this. Like, I want to actually go out and do things. So we'd ride around, and we'd go to the different parks and hang out. And there's one day where me and her were talking at the park, and her brother was on they had this iron, God, these things sucked. It was, had like monkey bars, but there was a rocket in the middle, and there was a sled attached to the rocket. And in the middle of the afternoon, if you were in that rocket and the sun was touching that steel, your ass was getting burned. But kids just could not handle not playing on this thing. Like, it's shaped like a rocket. It's cool. You want to be in there. You want to go down that slide that's going to burn the shit out of you. And this is why Gen X kids are so much more hardcore than the assholes that came after. So we're at the picnic table and we're talking, and she asked me about if I had a girlfriend, and I said no, and then I don't remember how the whole conversation went, but I think she asked me if she could be my girlfriend, and I remember saying yes, and she was all happy and giddy, and then I remember her kissing me, gave me a peck on the lips, and I was like, whoa, this is new. What is this? So then afterwards, they rode off home. I rode off home. I got in trouble because, of course, somebody went outside to check on me and was calling my name. And I was like, oh, I was in the woods down at the end of the street. And what? You never said you were going there. Oops, sorry. That was the last time I saw her. And I still remember what she looked like. She had bangs. She had light brown, curly hair. She used to play softball. She was in a softball league. And she was really pretty. She was really nice to me. And we always got along. And I think one thing we both noticed was, like, she didn't have the best home life. And I think she noticed that I also didn't have the best home life. But a couple weeks later, like, I want to say that was at the end of summer that happened. So, like, school had started, and usually we would lose touch during school because that was, winter comes and nobody's riding bikes anymore. There's not that summer hangout time. And it was a couple weeks later, it was in the newspaper that she was killed in a car accident where her mother's boyfriend had a couple of drinks, and they got in the car, and I can't remember if they had picked up the kids or if they were going somewhere else. I don't remember the details anymore. But he, according to the police report, had gone through a red light. The car got sideswiped, and the part of the car that was hit head on was where she was sitting in the back seat. And when the car hit them, her head hit the window and caused a brain bleed that ended up killing her. And her brother survived. He was fine. Mom was totally in denial and was defending the boyfriend, which I, to this day, don't understand that. Because she kept saying, we went to the visitation, and I remember seeing her in the coffin, and I remember telling my mom, that's not her. That doesn't look like her. And my mom started getting upset with me and saying, like, basically telling me to shut up and that, don't say that, that's her. And I kept looking at this body in the coffin, and it wasn't the same girl that I remembered. Of course it wasn't. It didn't have the life there, right? You're just seeing this empty shell. So I remember touching her hand in the coffin, and then I was told not to do that. And then that was the last time I saw anybody from her family. And the mom was at the visitation saying he only had 1 or 2 beers. I don't understand why they keep saying that he was drunk driving. He only had 1 or 2. It's not like your kid is dead or anything. And he was there. I remember him being there, standing next to her. Like, he was being supportive or some shit. But yeah, they were trying to fight this whole drunk driving thing that got her kid killed. Nobody else was hurt or injured except for her daughter. And things didn't turn out well for her brother either. I remember years later reading in the paper that he was arrested for like burglary or robbery or something. Like he was on a fast track to nowhere, and I believe it had to do with a combination of like his home life, family situation, what happened to his sister. Maybe he felt some guilt, like, why am I the one that survived the accident? And then I remember going to school. What did you do over the summer? Well, my girlfriend died. Which sounds very dramatic. I understand that. This girl that I liked hanging out with and I had my first kiss with, and we would run away together with her younger brother to go hang out somewhere else. Somewhere in the neighborhood. But yeah, nobody at school believed me because they were like, that's just too crazy, like you're making stuff up. And it does sound made up. It does. I get that, especially when you're, God, was I 8th grade, freshman year? I want to say it was 8th grade. And that was when all the kids started going out. There was no dating. It was like, will you go out with me? These days, I'm sure it's like 8th grade, like Tinder hookup culture. The way shit's going. So, yeah. That was, I want to say that was between 7th and 8th grade. Because I was a year older than everybody else. And the year between 8th grade and freshman year was when I dropped all the weight. I started going to Chung's Taekwondo over on Stadium Drive. I did that all summer. I started lifting weights. And I started my freshman year of school with some people for several days after it started, not knowing who the hell I was. Because I was no longer that chubby kid anymore. And I remember saying something to somebody, and this other kid turned around and was like, "Oh my God, Matt, is that you?" Yeah. I was no longer the fat kid that they could make fun of on the playground. But they always wanted to have me as one of the first picks for football. Because I could have like 2 or 3 guys on me. They would just grab onto me and try to tackle me, and I would just keep running. And I'd seriously have like one kid on my leg, one hanging on my back, and another dangling from my waist. And I would just pull them across the line. And they're like, "Oh my God, he's unstoppable." I was just fat. That's all that was. And I used to have the articles and stuff about what happened, but that scrapbook's long gone now. It just, yeah, between that happening and some of the stuff that my mom was telling me about my biological dad, it was like, I don't know, that was like the one time I actually like felt safe, like thinking about having a girlfriend at that age. So I was like, there's no way, she can't be my sister. 'Cause that was a thought in my head. It's kind of Joe Dirtish, right? Like, Well, I thought you might be my sister. I can't be your sister. That was like one of the best scenes in the movie. Gross, but one of the best scenes. White trash humor is the best. Doesn't get any dirtier than that. Keep on typing.